Okay, so what I want to show you next in Pro Tools is the clips. Now, this is where all the data is held in Pro Tools, whether it's audio data or MIDI data. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these aux track and the MIDI track just to keep things a little bit easier. And we've got here, all right, so we can see here, I've got my drum loop here. This is an audio clip, and I've got my piano loop here. I'm going to go ahead and rename this track. Double click, drum loop, and then I'm going to rename this track again, double click, and piano, P-N-O for piano. Now, if I wanted to rename these a little bit quicker, what I can do is I can double click on one and give it a name, drum loop, whoops, give it a name that's not misspelled, drum loop. And if you hold down Command and click the right arrow or the down arrow to switch between these, or any of your arrows, you'll figure it out, but right arrow to move down or right, or down arrow to move down or right. But basically I can hit that and I can rename these like that. So I don't actually have to use my mouse to click around on things. But as I told you before, I actually like to abbreviate everything. There we go, boom. So these are clips. And clips is kind of, we're going to be talking about clips today, and for your today's assignment, you're going to be working with clips. Clips live in two places. They live in the edit window, which is right here. They also live in the clips list, which is over here on the right-hand side of your window. So we've got the bass, we've got the drum loop, and we've got our MIDI clips here. And I can actually rename this clip like this, right click and select rename. Let's call this one piano-01 and like that. And I'm going to rename this one here. I'm going to right click and go to rename piano-02 like that. Boom. So I've got these here, and I can go ahead and just actually delete this one here because we're not really using that one anymore. If I click on a clip in the right-hand side of my window here, it's going to select it in my edit window over here, and vice versa. If I click on it here in my edit window, it's going to select it in my clips list here on the right-hand side. So that's a couple ways we can get to different clips, and we can see in the clips list what kind of clip it is by this little icon here. If it looks like an audio waveform, it's an audio clip. If it looks like a MIDI waveform, it's a MIDI clip. If it's mono, it's not going to have an arrow next to it. It's just going to be the name. And if it's stereo, it's going to have a little arrow next to it, and I can drop it down. Now, one of the cool things with Pro Tools is these clips here. If I drop down a stereo clip and I grab just the left-hand side, I can actually put that onto a mono track. Let me just show you. Here, I can just drag the left-hand side of my drum clip and put it on a mono track right here. It makes it super easy to work between stereo and mono clips. Now, one thing you'll also notice is that if I delete my clips from my edit window, they stay in my clips list window over here on the right. And I could drag it in again. So I'm just going to drag it in like that. There we go. So I've got that there. If I want to put a clip onto a track, one of the things that's not so great about Pro Tools is you have to kind of keep in mind what your track is, stereo or mono. And let's just take a look at this here. How can I tell if my track is stereo or mono? Well, stereo tracks have two pan knobs on them. A mono track has one pan knob on it. Stereo tracks have two meters on them, and a mono track has 1 meter on it. That's the easiest way to tell. And you can see that in both views over here. See, my pan here has two pan sections for my stereo track, and it's also got 2 meters. And my mono track here has 1 pan section and 1 meter. Also, when I have a file on it, let me just drag this bass file over here, you can see this one here is stereo. It's got two waveforms on it, and this one here is mono. It's got 1 waveform. So that's another way we can tell stereo versus mono. So going back to what I was saying, in Pro Tools, I cannot drag a stereo file onto a mono track. See, I can drag it onto here if I... Wow, that person's loud. I'm on 6th Avenue, so it gets loud here. If I've got this file here and I drag it around, you can see the yellow box around it. It tells me where I can put it. Down here, if I move it down here, you can see there's no yellow box. It won't let me put it onto this track because this track is mono, but the file is stereo. If I do the same thing with my mono file, it will allow me to put it down here, but it will not allow me to put it up here on the stereo track. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to drag a file into your edit window, you can't, it has to be on the right track, on the right channel count. Okay. You were on 6. Was that you? Was that you, Crispy, driving by? Is that what you're telling us right now? Sorry, I'll turn the music down, Tony. All right, thanks. Oh, Dwy Sounds. Hey, you are welcome. Well, this is it live. So, if you have a question that pertains to what we're talking about right now, and I think that my class will benefit from it, please ask. But I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm going to rename this one base. And so we've got this file here. If I drag this bass clip into here, wait, it's still going to be the wrong. Hold on, let's put. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this filter off. And let's replay this piano part here to fit with this bass part. I'm not good at finding out things by ear. Sorry, guys. That's about as close as I'm going to get. Do a little thing right here. Go ahead. Sweet. So I'm going to take that now. What I want to do is I want to edit this little piano part right here that I just did. And I also maybe want to edit this bass part as well. And I can even edit the drums a little bit. So let's go ahead and show you what to do with that. Really, all the stuff we just talked about here is these notes here. The clips hold the data in Pro Tools, Audio, or MIDI. The clips list here is on the right-hand side of my screen, down here on the bottom. See that little button right there that can open this up and close it? And then you've got your clips, audio, MIDI clips, stuff like that. Selector Tool. Now, I'm actually using my Selector Tool right now. And this is in the Tools mode over here. Okay, so we're going to be kind of going, right now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the edit modes and our tools. And that's all the stuff down here. So over here, up here in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to go kind of fast right now because we're actually going to dive into these in a little bit more detail, but I'm going to get you enough so that you can kind of do your assignment for today. But I've got shuffle mode, spot mode, slip, grid, all these here. Shuffle and spot, we're not really going to use too much. They are useful. I'm going to come back and talk about them another day. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on slip and grid. Now, yesterday, AJ, you and I were talking about your new computer, and I told you to put the function keys up there so you can use it correctly. And this is what we're going to be talking about right now is these function keys. If you are using a computer that has the function keys across the top, F1, F2, F3, F4, all that stuff, you're going to want to pay attention to these shortcuts right now. F2 is slip mode and F3 is grid mode. If it's in grid mode, see, you are getting a free Pro Tools course. Kind of, you're getting part of it. So basically, if I move this around right here, see how it snaps to the grid? If I put it into slip mode, which is F2, now I can move it freely. Now, let me just show you a really cool little trick here. If I'm in grid mode and I want to put it in temporary slip mode, what I can do is I can hold down my command key and it puts it in what I call it temporary slip mode. I don't know what the official name is, but this is what I call it, temporary slip mode, because this is what it is. See how it's sliding around here? That's me holding down the command key. If I want it to only slide around and I can put it anywhere, I hit F2 to put it into slip mode up here in the upper left-hand corner. and now I can just drag it around wherever I want it to be. Okay, so that's that. So where does this get useful? This gets really useful for if I want to go over to the edge of my clip here. Let's go to the end of the clip, and let's say I just want to stop the clip right after this whatever this is right here. So I can take it, I can hold down Command and grab it and drag it on over like this, and now I just grab that end part right there and just kind of edit it over. And this is what we call trimming. Now what I'm using right now is the Smart tool, and this is a collection of all the tools together. And we're going to talk about that in just a second, but I just want to show you real quick what that is with slip mode and grid mode. With grid mode, right here on my screen, I can change my grids. Now there is a shortcut for this. I can never remember what it is because I never got to the point where I remembered that. But what I'm gonna do is I just usually leave it set for my 16th note or 8th note or something like that. And what I'm gonna do is if I grab it and drag it with my trim tool here, see how it's snapping to that grid, right? But if I don't want it to do that, I can put it in slip mode and I can just drag it so it's a smooth edit like that, okay? So again, if you're doing this like I'm doing it with the grid and the grid is set up and I'm doing MIDI and stuff like that, I can edit it really easily with the grid turned on. Now this becomes really helpful if I go back over here to my MIDI section here and I want to edit this down. Let's go ahead and put this grid mode back to, let's put it to quarter notes here. And I want to just grab this first part here. Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually quantize these. Let's quantize it to the 16th note. And quantize, we'll talk about it, but quantize just lines my MIDI data up to my grid. We're going to talk about it in detail another day. And I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to take, let me just do it quick, and then I'm going to show it to you in slow motion. I'm going to explain everything as I go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this, I'm going to delete this, I'm going to move this back over here, I'm going to grab this part, delete this, and I'm going to duplicate this so now it just follows my section that I've got. Is that wrong? That's wrong. That's 3 bars. So I don't want 3 bars. I just want 2 bars. So we're going to do like this, boom, 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 boom. There we go. There we go. You can hear there's like a little bit of a weird thing happening in here, which I can go ahead and fix that a little bit later. But I just want to show you, right now we're talking more broad strokes. We're just kind of editing our clips. Let's say this bass line, let's say I just want to edit this bass line to make it just go bum, bum, bum. I don't want it to go bum, ba-dum, bum. I just want to be like bum, bum, right? So what I'll do is I'll just grab this, move this back like that, get rid of this. Actually, let's hold on to that. Let's hold on to a little bit of that right there. And now, what are we doing? We're on the quarter note, right? So go over here. Let's take this, make this the 16th note. Boom, boom. I'm going to duplicate these like this. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. And let's take this last one here like that and make it like that. There we go. So now, take this and loop this section just so we can hear what it sounds like. Cool. All right. So we've got that little thing there. Now I did that really, really fast, and you might be going, Tony, slow down. Don't worry, I got you. We're going to go back and show you that in slow motion here right now because I just want to show you what we can do. Now I'm going to show you more how to do it, okay? So in order to do all that stuff I just did, you got to understand a couple things over here. So we already talked about our edit modes. The edit mode is this page right here. Remember, we ignored shuffle mode and spot mode for now, and we talked about slip mode and grid mode. 16th note and the quarter note. It's a great question. This is rhythm stuff. 16th notes are faster than quarter notes. That's the short answer, but we should actually probably, Cedric, let's talk more in Zoom about it because I wanna explain a little bit more about it. But I do have a lesson about all that, and I'll find it and I'll tell you which one it is, okay? But the short answer really is 16th notes are faster than quarter notes. All right, so that's our edit modes here. The edit mode, slip mode, grid mode, it kind of explains it. We did not talk about relative grid mode yet. We will talk about relative grid mode, but not today. What I want to talk about now is our tools. We have the trim tool, selector tool, grabber tool, and this is what I was using really quickly to make all that magic happen right there. All these different tools really, really quick. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to slow down and explore these tools in more detail. In order to do that, we're going to go back into Pro Tools here, and we're going to go up here to our tool section. And this is our toolbar. And all of our tools live up here, and what we can do is I can select these tools individually. Here's our zoom tool, our trim tool, our selector tool, our grabber tool. This is our scrubber tool and our pencil tool. These three tools here can be put together if I click on this box to be our smart tool. You can also select all these tools by hitting the function keys. So F5 is the zoom tool, F6 is our trim tool, 7 is the selector tool, F8 is the grabber tool, F9 is the scrubber tool, and F10 is the pencil tool. The main ones you're going to use are the trim tool, the selector tool, and the grabber tool. And if you click on this box, you can use them all three together as one smart tool. And if you hover over it, and if you want to see what these are called, you can just hover over them. Put your mouse on it and it tells you what it is. The zoom tool, the trim tool, the selector tool, the grabber tool. Okay, all these. You'll also notice here that they have an arrow. Some of them have an arrow underneath it. We can actually select different tools from different ones. So here's this. I've got different tools under here. And we're not gonna dive deep into those right now. Whoa, just started stuttering like mad. Sorry, hold on, let me let my computer just speed up. Let me let it catch up. Oh, it's not happy about that, was it? What happened was my Pro Tools window overlapped something on my other screen. Oh, that's annoying. Come on. Okay, I don't know if it's actually, I don't know if y'all are seeing this like stuttering or not, or if it's just me on my iPad here. I don't know. Can somebody let me know? Is my screen like really stuttery right now? Visual stutter? Yeah. Ugh. The audio's fine. Yeah, it's weird. Hold on. Let me It will. Yeah. Okay. It will calm down in a second. It's just like my video card is not really powerful enough to oh, I feel like I'm in a video in like 1999 or something, like Max Headroom or something, if anybody knows what that is. We're down to 5 frames per second. It's like all the hot video games are at 5 frames per second. You know how it is. You know how it is. Yeah, okay, let's all right, Proximal. I'm probably not gonna be able to help you too much making an instrumental for Reba McEntire. I'm sorry. But yeah, hold on. You know what I'm gonna do? Let's do this. I'm gonna unplug this. Goodbye, iPad. It's a monitor. You're not making me. I'm not a happy panda with you. All right. And let's see. Is that better? Are we better now? Let's see what hey, yeah, much better. Okay, it's okay now, yeah. So it just means I can't see my OBS here. It's like the wizard seeing behind, you're seeing behind the Wizard of Oz, the background. Don't pay any attention to the guy behind the screen. All right. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, it's just having my iPad connected up. Running all this stuff with Pro Tools and OBS and the internet and what else was I running? I don't know. It slows everything down. Okay, so let's get back into the lesson. So what happens is we've got these tools here, and let's just show you the tools. Here's our tools. We got the trim tool, selector, grabber, smart tool, all this stuff here. And the trim tool here adjusts the start or end point of a clip. And that's this one here. If I click on this, let me go ahead and delete this clip here. So if I want to go over here, let's just take this and move that. Oop. I can grab this. Whoa, what are we doing? Why are we editing everything? Hold on. That was weird. So I can grab this, see, and I can adjust the end point, or I can go to this side and adjust the start point. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is, see how it looks like a little staple, like a staple on its side, or brackets, I guess you want to call it. If I move to the right, it's going to adjust the end point of my clip, and if I move to the left, it's going to adjust the start point of my clip. That's my trim tool, and that's this one right up here. There are other drop-down menus for this one. We're going to talk about those later. Here's my selector tool. What this does is it allows me to select a portion of my clip. Now, once I've got that portion of my clip selected, what I could do is I can hit delete and get rid of that portion of my clip. What you'll notice is that now I have two clips. Now, I just want to show you something over here in Pro Tools real quick that I recommend you turn on. What happened was with the newer versions of Pro Tools, they kind of wanted to make things more helpful. And they turned off this auto-created thing. And I actually like to have auto-created turned on. So if you go to Show, Auto-created, this is going to show all your clips that Pro Tools is kind of making in the background. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. It's up to you if you like it. I like it. I'm just used to it because I've been using it for such a long time. This is like old school Pro Tools stuff from, like I said, I've been using it since version 5 in 1999. When they changed it, I was like, wait, where's all my mess? So it's up to you if you want to keep it. But watch what happens here. If I take this and if I highlight a part and I delete it, it makes more drum loops here on my clips folder over here on the right-hand side. So up to you how you want to do that. Now, if we go back here to our notes, let me just back this up a little bit to where it says clip selection here on a previous page. Click and drag highlights that section of the clip. Double click and triple click within the clip, or the silence between clips allows you to select that clip. So check this out. If I wanted to highlight this whole clip, like let's say I've highlighted this part here, but I'm like, you know what, I want the whole clip. I can double click 1, 2, boom. And it just selected that whole clip. If I'm down here on my baseline, and let's say I've highlighted this one clip right here, but actually I want to select the whole entire track, all the clips on the baseline, what I do is I triple click 1, 2, 3, and it selects everything on the track. Now, this is really, really important. And one thing that I always tell my students is that with Pro Tools, with all the stuff we're learning right now from lesson 1, today is lesson 1, and we're going to have 3 more weeks. So that's 12 classes, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 classes of Pro Tools, and everything builds up. So everything you're learning today, you have to remember it on class 14, right? You have to remember it all the way out to the end, because it's not like stuff you learn today you can forget. It all builds on top of itself. So stuff we're learning about today with how they click on clips and stuff like that, this becomes really important later on when we're talking about automation and stuff like that. It all kind of ties together. So you have to keep this stuff in your memory as we go. So double click selects the clip, 1, 2, boom. Triple click selects the whole entire everything on the track, 1, 2, 3, boom. Now, one of the cool things about this is I can actually double click in this space right here to select the space, 1, 2, like that. There's things we can use that for. I don't want to talk about them right now because it's a little bit it's beyond where we are. It's a little bit more advanced. I want to keep it basic for now. Okay. Finally, we have the grabber tool here, and the grabber tool just lets me grab and move things around. It's just our normal grabbing thing. I can grab and move clips around. There are other tools underneath the grabber tool. We're going to come back and talk about those on another day. So for now, these are basic tools. We have the grabber tool, we have the selector tool, and I can use my shortcuts to select them. F6 is the trim tool, and I can just trim it like that. Okay, that's our 3 main tools. What I want to talk about right now is the smart tool to pull everything together. So the smart tool lets me do it all, and this is what I was using before when I was doing those edits. So let's go ahead and let's take this, all this stuff. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. I'm going to put this back to the beginning like this. Is that the beginning part? There we go. There's my beginning. Drag that over. So now let's listen to this, what we've got. Okay, so we got that part there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this bass part, and I'm going to show you. Let's edit the drums in the bass. Okay, so let's say I want to take these drums and make them a little bit different rhythm. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. First of all, I'm going to make just do this right here. Again, I'm going to talk about that on another class. Please don't worry about what I just did. Let's keep moving. I'll explain it all on another class. Okay, so we got this here. Let's solo our drums. All right, so let's take this hi-hat and make the hi-hat a little bit faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, let's just grab this. I'm going to delete everything else. So what I did first is I used my Selector Tool to put a mark right here. If you look at my screen, you can see I'm highlighting stuff, but I put a mark right here, and I hit Command E. Now, let me just explain to you how this works here with these different tools. Right here, I have what I call my clip beef cut. It looks like a cow beef cut, you know, the thing that shows you all the different parts of the cow. This is what I call my clip beef cut here, and it shows you the different areas of your clip layout. So in here, if we're using the Smart tool, which is, remember, it's our trim, our selector, and our grabber tool all together, and I select a different part, or if I mouse over a different part of the clip, it's going to change what my tool is doing. So if I put it in the top middle, it's a selector tool. If I put it in the bottom middle, it's the grabber tool. If I put it on the left or the right, it's the trim tool. And if I put it in the top or the bottom of the clip, in the corner, any of the corners, it becomes a fade tool. Okay, so let's just go back over here to my Pro Tools and let me show you that real quick. I'm going to make my screen really, really big, and I'm going to hide my other tracks, so all we're looking at is my drum track here. Okay, so here's my clip, and you can see my here, let's do this. Put it into blocks mode. Boom. Okay, so if I'm in the top portion here, my cursor is a selector tool, and I can select and grab things. See that? Like that. If I go down to the bottom, in the middle, it turns into the grabber tool, like this. Felix, you're saying how to move clips up and down. You can't really move clips up and down unless you're on the same, unless you have tracks made. So you have to have a track made. But in general, you don't need to move clips up and down because they stay on their track. It's not an up and down thing. It's a left and right thing. All right, so up on top is our selector tool, and the bottom is the grabber tool to move it left and right. And if I go to the left side in the middle here, it becomes, see this? It becomes my trim tool, and I can trim the edge over here. And if I go to the right-hand side in the middle, it becomes my trim tool on the right for the end of the clip. Okay. If I wanted to fade it, I can grab up here in the corner and I can do a fade. And I can grab over here in the corner and do a fade. I can also grab these fades. If you have been using Pro Tools in the past, I can actually grab the fade in the middle here and adjust the curve of the fade. Or I can grab down here and hit delete to delete the fade, or I can grab up here on the right-hand side and I can actually, let's see, how do I do that one? Yeah, I have to grab up here and I can adjust the fade length here like this. So that's how that stuff works. Let me put the waveform back in again and just show you that again. One more time, in the middle, I can click, select things, delete it, whatever. I can move the whole thing around. I can trim it. Oops, I can trim it like that, and I can fade. And a fade, what it does is it fades it up. It goes from silence to maximum volume level. So if we listen to this, see how it faded up? I'm going to grab this fade and make it longer. Like that. If I have the fade selected and I want to delete it, I just hit delete. And if you want to select the fade, remember our selector tool. We can double click with the selector tool. So I just make sure I've got my selector tool here with the Smart tool, and I double click 1, 2, and it selects the fade, and I hit delete, and it deletes it. Okay, so remember that selector thing it's like a small little thing. It's actually something I think, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't actually know about that part of how to use the selector tool. That will give you like a leg up on the competition because it makes working with Pro Tools so quick. All right. So now let's use everything I just did, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to make this drum beat a little bit more, I don't know, different. Not better, just different. So we're going to take this and we're going to put this, I'm going to zoom in. And zoom, in case you're wondering, is command brackets left and right, but it is in the notes somewhere. I don't remember where it is right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate this. Command D to duplicate it. Boom. And I'm going to duplicate this one as well. And all I'm doing is I'm highlighting it and I'm duplicating it like this. Actually, you know what? Let's listen to this real quick. I'm just going to make a 1-bar loop. Awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here and let's drag it over here. I'm going to hold Option down. And instead of having that double hi-hat there, I'm going to flip this around backwards. So it goes backwards here. And one more time, I'm going to explain how to do this in more detail another time. But let's just listen to this. Okay, that's kind of cool, but I want to grab this hi-hat and put it here like that. Boom. Awesome. Now, one thing you're going to notice is these levels are all the same as the original, what I duplicated and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is, see on my screen here, I've got these little things down here that have a 0 dB on them. Well, what these are, if you don't see them, you can actually zoom in to make it, your clips wider. And I can take this and I can drag it down. And that will adjust what they call the clip gain for all of your, for that clip. So I'm just going to drag it down like this. And I'm just eyeballing it right now, and we can listen to it and see what it sounds like. Let me take this one and make it a little bit smaller as well. A little bit smaller, not smaller, a little bit quieter. Awesome. Take this one and turn it up a little bit. And yeah. Make it a little bit more musical by turning these down. Nice. Now, here's another really important thing to do in Pro Tools. If I've got all these clips here, I want to take these and turn these into a new audio file. I don't think this is in the notes here. It's not in the notes, but that's okay. I'm just going to tell it to you. It's not in the notes right here. It's actually in the notes in a different place. But I'm just going to tell it to you right now. I want to make this into a new audio file because now it's like a whole bunch of different clips and stuff. Well, what I can do is I go to Clip, and is it under here or is it under Edit? I think it's under Edit actually. Yeah, under Edit, down here it says Consolidate Clip. Consolidate, what it does in Pro Tools, the Pro Tools world of Consolidate, what it does is it takes it and it makes it into one new audio file. So I'm going to do this here, boom, and now it's one new audio file. So before I had all these individual clips, and I'm just going to highlight them and hit Option Shift 3, and now they are a new audio file because I just consolidated them. Now let's go ahead and turn everything else back on. There we go, just that. Make that large. Awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and make this loop be the whole 4 bars. And let's say that, okay, that's pretty cool, but I don't want my whole drum loop to do that. Let's use my old drum loop for some stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and drag my old drum loop back in like this. And let's say that I want to use the second half of the old drum loop. So I'm going to go over here like this and do that like that. And I'm going to take this one and drag it over here like this. Now, what I just did was a whole bunch of stuff, and I did it really quick, so let's slow that down. First of all, I brought the drum loop in, and we can see that it's 4 bars, so it kind of goes past all my other drum loops here, all my other loops that I've got here. So we're not really doing the right place. Hold on, let me just, okay, there we go. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of this first part, because we already have a first bar here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this first one and drag it over, or I can use my selector. There's a couple ways you can do it. I can use my trim tool to drag it over like this, or I can use my selector tool to click right here, and it's hard to see, but you see how it's like flashing right here? If you're on a really small screen, you're not going to see it flashing like that, but it's flashing. That shows me that my selection is right there. I hit Command E, which is under the edit window. This is for separate clip at selection. So I want to go to separate clip at selection, Command E, and it's going to make it into 2 new clips. Command E, boom. I'm going to go down here with my grabber tool, grab that, hit delete, and use my grabber tool to move this over like this. Now, this is cool. Let's listen to this. All right, and that's okay, but what I want to do is I want to make it so this here goes over this third one here. So I'm going to grab this first measure, and I'm going to hold down Option. Now Option, it makes a copy of it. So if I hold Option and drag it over, it's making copies of this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down Option and drag it in here like this. Now let's listen to it. Okay, so that's pretty cool, but what we notice is that all those little hi-hats that I made are not in this section here. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's put the quarter note in here because I don't really need the 16th note. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, actually let's use the 8th note. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to copy and paste these into here. Boom. And so now it'll sound a little bit more like what my other one sounded like. Sweet. Okay, and now you can hear all those little changes I made. Once again, if I want to take all these changes and put, oh, you're distracted by it? Okay, I'll change it. If you're going to take all these changes that I just made and make them into one loop, then we can take this and consolidate this together. Option Shift 3, boom, there you go. Okay, all right. No problem, Crispy. Thanks. Nobody's ever mentioned to me they were distracted by it. I think I would probably be distracted by it, but I just wanted to put it there. But yeah, I'll change. I'll stop it from moving. But I can't right now, unfortunately, sorry. All right, so let's take that. Let's do the same thing with our bass line here. So the bass, let's go ahead and solo this out. Okay, so we got that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and chop this up a little bit. And I'm using some techniques that I'm not going to talk about right now, which is tab to transient. I don't want to talk about it yet. We are going to talk about tab to transient another time, but not right now. So I just went ahead and edited that, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. What I did was I used my selector tool. See how it's my selector tool up here even, and if I go down, it's my grabber tool, right? It's not going to grab anything because there's nothing to grab. But if I use my selector tool, I can highlight this section here, and now I can hit Command D to duplicate it. And it duplicates it with that silence there. So I've got that, and now let's go ahead and move this back a little bit like that, and let's just see what that sounds like. And remember the other day I mean, we've only known each other for a couple days, but remember when I talked about how it's really important to experiment and try things. And this is one of those times when it's like, okay, I don't know how this is going to sound, but let's see what it sounds like. Duplicate this out a couple times, and let's see. Let's listen to it with the beat. Cool. All right, I don't hate that. So let's go ahead and solo this bass because I was hearing a little bit of a click in this bass. Okay, you hear that little pop. If you're listening on headphones, you're going to hear a little pop there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pop, and I'm going to, this is when we would use our fade tool here. So I'm going to put my, edit mode into slip mode and drag a little bit of a fade over for each one like this. If I was smart and I had figured this out before I did all this, I wouldn't have to do it for every single one like this, but it's okay. I haven't really gone that far. I'm just going to do it for the first bar, and the second bar, I'm going to delete these, grab this stuff here, put it back into grid mode. Let's listen to make sure there's no pops and clicks. And now there's no pops and clicks. Awesome. Okay, cool. Now, one thing you'll notice is that piano line is doing this weird stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that my notes are okay. So these notes, this note here, what's happening is probably lasting past that last one there. So I'm just going to grab this and drag it over. And the same stuff I just talked about with the audio, it actually works in MIDI. Now, I'm not going to get into the details today because it's too much, and we have a whole week pretty much dedicated to MIDI stuff. We have several classes dedicated to just MIDI. So we're going to come back and talk about MIDI stuff. But what I want to just let you know is that the MIDI edits work basically the same as audio stuff. So if you are practicing with your audio and you want to try doing some MIDI stuff, you can. But this is why this first note is acting all wonky, is because the last note was actually holding over too long. So now let's listen to this. Awesome. Great. And now that sounds pretty darn cool. Okay, so once again with this bass line, if I want to get this bass and I want to consolidate it so it's one file, I just hit highlight everything, Option Shift 3, and there we go, it becomes one file. Now, I fully understand that I just did a lot of stuff and I did it pretty quick, and I know that you're going to be watching, you're going to be like, wow, this is why I record this stuff, and I think it's important to record it, and I put it up on YouTube so you can watch it again. So, you know, I'm answering questions and stuff now in real time, but you can go through and you can watch it again in slow motion, as slow as you want, and kind of watch it a few times. You also, if you're in my class, you also have access to me. We're going to go over to Zoom here in a minute, and then you'll be able to ask me some questions about specific things in Zoom. One thing I recommend is don't get discouraged. I am going to go over this more, and we're going to talk about it, and we can cover any kind of questions you have, but I've been doing this for 20 years. Yes, it's going to be dated on YouTube. Today, I'm going to put today's date into the title on YouTube. But I've been doing this with Pro Tools for 20 years. Before Pro Tools, I was using a computer to do stuff for, I used Logic for 2 years. And then Cedric, I'm going to put it into the, it's on Canvas. I don't want to get distracted by that right now. It's on Canvas, but we can talk about it in Zoom, because if I get distracted, I'll lose my train of thought. But I will answer your question, Cedric, don't worry. But before that, I used Logic for 2 years. I used Cubase for 2 years. And then I had this other program called, I don't know, I don't even remember what it was called. It's so old and they stopped making it. But essentially, I've been using a computer to make music since 1991. It's a long time. So I move quick, I do things very fast because a couple things. One, I know how the stuff works. Two, I've been doing it for a long time. So I also, not only do I know how this stuff works with Pro Tools, but I also understand how it like conceptually, what do I want to do with it? So that's how I can move so fast. You will get to this point. You will be able to go this quickly eventually. Don't get down right now. Don't be like, oh man, I'm so slow compared to Tony. Trust me, most people are slow compared to Tony. Even people who do this all the time are pretty slow compared to Tony. I'm not the fastest person out there by any means, but I do move pretty quick with this stuff when I'm not trying to explain it to somebody. So that's that mostly. So one last thing in here. Let's go back into the notes here. And also thank you, AJ, for posting that up. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. You got my back. Great. But remind me to show you all where all this stuff is on Canvas, because actually all of your everything is actually in Canvas as well. Okay, a couple of little points that a couple of things I want to point out here. Things that you cannot undo in Pro Tools. You cannot undo track deletion. If you delete a track, you can't undo it. If you change your routing, if you change a bus or something like that, you can't undo it. If you take off a plugin or you put a plugin in or something like that, you can't undo it. Command Z does not work all the time in Pro Tools like it does in other things. So it's a bit frustrating, but remember your backup folder, all those backup files. If you delete a track in Pro Tools and you're like, oh my gosh, I just deleted something really important by mistake, just go to the last backup. It's fine. Believe me, I've done that. And the important part is don't stress. Okay. Bounced files folder. This is the default location when you bounce your song or tracks in a song. This folder only exists if it has stuff in it. This one here is important. We're going to come back and talk about it in just a minute because I'm going to show you what a bounce is here in a moment. Save, copy in. Now, I don't want to dwell on this today. I just want to point it out because I've already been talking for a long time and I'd like to kind of move over into Zoom here. But this stuff is all very important, where it's basically explaining what I explained earlier today about why you need to do save, copy in to make sure all your audio files are in one place. Remember earlier I talked about your session folder. It's got your PTX file in there. It's got your audio files folder in there. It's got your other stuff. That folder, in order to make sure that everything is in that audio files folder, if I'm using stuff from a separate hard drive over here, over here, over here, over here, over here, save, copy in, what it does is it makes sure everything is living inside of that audio files folder. So it's got collect all and save, save, copy in, all the different ones. You see how this over here says collect all and save? That's for Ableton Live. Save, copy in is Pro Tools. Consolidate is Logic. It changes depending on your DAW. That's what I've written right up here. It just makes sure that everything from all those different locations are in that audio files folder. This is really important if you're working with people on other computers. If you're only working on your computer, you do not need to do this. So when I'm working on sessions in my like on my computer with my hard drives that I have all these little like hard drives like this in my studio. When I'm working on my hard drive on my computer, it's never. I don't do this ever, but as soon as I have to take something to somebody else, I do this. So that's that. That's actually quite important there, and that's all the last page here, and it's kind of just kind of explains everything that I just said in writing. So you can read that in your notes there. And if you have any questions, please let's talk about it. Okay, so what I want to do finally here is I want to talk about your assignment for today. Pretty much I've been doing some stuff that's kind of similar to your assignment, although your assignment's not quite this complex, but I want to go through your assignment for today. So where your assignment is, also just make sure that if you're here, I've got you marked here. Did Regan ever come in, or Bryant? I don't know if y'all are here or not. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't seen them here. Those are the two that I have marked as not here. Let me just mark that over here. There we go. Okay. So down here, let's see. Where are we? Right here. Okay. So this one here, the Pro Tools Lab. Basically, if you go into Canvas, here's Canvas, and on Canvas, where it says Exercises and Labs, the Pro Tools 1 lab right here. If you click on that, it pulls up a tab or pulls up your file here. Please download the PDF here and follow the instructions. Here are the files you'll use for today's exercise. Basically, what I want you to do is I want you to upload an image of your work that you've done today. And what's going to happen is once you download those two files, They're going to end up on your computer. I recommend you put them into a folder to keep them organized or something like that. So here they are. I put them in a folder called Pro Tools Lab, and then this zip file, it opens up another folder. I'm going to call this one Pro Tools Lab audio files. And what you're going to do is you're going to use these audio files to do the lab. So I'm going to open up the PDF here. Here's the PDF. I'm going to stick it right here on this side of the screen. It's going to be a little bit too small for you to see in Zoom, but once you get this on, once you open this up on your computer, you'll be able to see it, no problem. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new audio Pro Tools session. So I'm going to give it a name, which is my name, Tony G, PT Lab 1, like that. And down here on the bottom, I should have done it like this, there we go. Down here on the bottom, WAV file, and all this stuff is actually listed right here. File type, bit depth, sample rate, all this stuff here. So file type is WAV, sample rate is 44.1, bit depth is 24, last stereo IO settings is stereo mix, and then interleaved. Yes, okay, cool. And how are you going to name it? Like this, last name, first name, last name, Pro Tools Lab 1, something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. Like I'm not using the underscores, but I didn't put my full name in here. You can if you want, whatever you need to do. Hold on, let me just get this so I can actually see if anybody writes anything. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hit create. Now it makes a new session for me. Go to my next page over here. And down here, step number 3, it says open the new track window and create the following tracks. Now, these tracks, you're not going to use all of these tracks. It's intentionally having you make an extra track so you learn how to delete a track or two. So make these tracks. You're going to make 3 stereo audio tracks. You're going to make 4 mono audio tracks, 2 stereo aux inputs, and 1 stereo master fader. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to use Command-Shift-In, and I'm going to make 3 stereo audio tracks. You can click on the plus button to make another one. I'm going to make 4 mono audio tracks. Great. Click on the plus button. I'm going to make 2 stereo aux tracks. I'm going to make 1 stereo master fader. Where are we? Master fader. Boop. There we go. Cool. So you can actually go back and forth between these to check and make sure they're correct. Yep, they are correct, I guess. Correct enough. And now I've got my tracks here. Now it says, step number 4, open the audio import audio window and navigate to the folder of audio files that your instructor provided to you. Import all the files with the copy method. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Import Audio, which is Command-Shift-I if you care. And I'm going to go in here and we're going to go into my teaching files and go to the exercises, PT1 Lab. And here's all my audio files. And I can hold Shift to select all of them. Click on the first one, hold Shift, select all of them. And then over here, see how it says add or copy? I'm going to explain that in another lesson, but let's just do copy all. And then hit done. Now it's going to ask me where do I want to put them. 99 times out of 100, you can just hit return, hit open, and it's going to put them in the right folder. You don't need to worry about this. It's automatically going to select the folder, the audio files folder where your Pro Tools session is. Only if you want to put it somewhere different are you going to actually change anything here. So I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to hit open, and now it puts them in there. Now, let's see. It explains all that stuff in the instructions. So if you read the instructions, it explains all that stuff. Now, it says Pro Tools will ask you whether you want to create new tracks for the files or place them in the clips list. In this exercise, you should place them in the clip list since we have already created audio tracks. So we're going to click on clips list here and hit OK. Now, the clips list in my case is not already open, so I'm going to go down here to the bottom and open it up. Boop. There it is. So now I've got this open. I'm going to go ahead and close this little thing over here on the side. Didn't even realize that was open. How are we doing, anybody? Nope, okay, good. Now it says, number 6, drag the 3 stereo files to the 3 stereo tracks and the 4 mono files to the 4 mono tracks starting at bar 1. So what we're going to do here, oh wait, I think it already told me, wait, I think I missed a step here where it told me what the tempo was, did I? Oh no, okay, I haven't. It didn't tell me yet. It's step 8. Okay. So in here, remember, how do I know if it's stereo or mono? Well, the reason I know it's stereo or mono is it's got a little triangle next to it to say that it's stereo. It also says stereo. Hey, look at that. I can hold down my shift key to select them like this, or I can hold down command to select individual clips. And now I can drag them all in here. Or you could drag them in one by one if you want. Which might be a little bit easier when you're first starting off. Drag them in one by one, and I'm dragging them to the stereo tracks. Now it says after you drag all of the audio files to the tracks, name the tracks after the files by double-clicking on the name. In future lessons, we will have the names automatically created by importing the tracks. But for now, we're going to name them. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag all these files in one by one: bass, breakbeat, effects loop, and guitar loop. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit using command brackets so I can see what's going on. And we can see every clip has the track name in it. Or not, sorry, every clip has a name in it. So I'm going to name my tracks by that same thing. Now, all my tracks are selected right now. So if I don't want them to all be selected, I can hold down my Option key and click on one of the tracks, and it deselects all the tracks. Option, click a track to deselect your tracks. If none of them are selected, if you Option click, it'll select all of them. Basically, hold down Option and click on it and see what it does. So I'm going to double click this first one here, and it is called drum loop. If I want to go to the next track, remember, command arrow key to the next track. This one is going to be EP loop. Arrow key, command arrow key, percussion 1. Next one is going to be bass. Next one is going to be breakbeat. Next one is going to be FX loop. Next one is going to be guitar loop. Now, that's fine. If you name them like this, it's fine. But my recommendation is to abbreviate everything. Get in the habit of abbreviating things. So drum loop becomes Dr. LP. EP loop would be EP LP. Percussion loop, percussion 1 would be just perc 1. Bass, whatever, that's already short enough. Breakbeat, BRKBT, breakbeat, I just took out the vowels. Effects loop, LP, and then guitar loop, GTR space LP. And now I've got everything abbreviated. The reason why I like to abbreviate things is because Pro Tools names can only be so long, and it only shows you so much information here, and so it will automatically abbreviate things for you. And I found that Pro Tools doesn't often, it doesn't make any sense what they abbreviate it to. So I go ahead and I abbreviate it myself. All right, after you've named your tracks, set the session BPM to 90. So we're going to go over here to this little thing here, this little red diamond thing, or you can use the plus button. Change it to 90 BPMs. There we go. See, it says 120 now. I'm going to change it to 90. Hit OK, and now it's 90 BPM. Great. And this just explains, it has a picture for how to do that. Now, change your edit tool to the Smart tool, which I'm already on the Smart tool. And after you have, as you have learned, the Smart tool changes based on your cursor position native to the clip, relative to the clip. We already talked about that. Click on the first clip with the grabber tool using the Smart tool, and then holding Shift, click on the rest of the clips until they are selected. Okay. Now let me just make sure that there's no special order for things. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one here, and click on this one, and click on all of these, holding Shift, and make sure they are all selected here. So they're all selected. Change my grid to 1 bar here. We are in edit mode. Yep, edit grid mode. There we go. Cool. And now we're going to hold Option to drag everything to bar 5, and that's going to make a copy of it. Okay. Then we're going to hit Command D twice, and so now everything should go out to bar 17. So the whole thing is 16 bars. All right. Again, I'm going pretty quick, but because I just want to show you what it looks like. Now, it's going to ask you to delete certain things. So I'm just going to look at the picture over here and delete all these different tracks out of here. There we go. Delete these. Boom. Just deleted them. All right. Now it says place your at bar 3 of the guitar loop. Where's our guitar loop? Shift and hit return. We'll select. Okay. So we're going to go to, wait, let me here. Let's take the guitar. Oh, there's my guitar loop down there. Boom. There we go. Bar 3 like that, and hold Shift and hit the left arrow or the return. Sorry. Boom, like that. And that just grabbed that part, and now hit delete. Whoops. Hit delete. There we go. So we got that. So if we listen to this, I'm going to turn that effects loop down a little bit. Nice. Okay, so it gets a little thing in the beginning there. Now, let's go ahead and fade the bass clip up so the bass clip's not just starting in the beginning. Now, what this does is it actually tells you to select the whole entire bass clip. And what I've found is that that doesn't work that great. What I want you to do is actually just highlight the first half of the bass clip like this. So I'm going to use my Selector Tool to highlight the first half, the first 2 bars, and hit Command F. And that lets me do the fade like this. Okay. Hit OK, and now it's going to fade up. So that's what it's going to sound like. Now what they want you to do is use the fade tool to actually fade out the drums. So down here, number 16, it says basically create a fade from bar 13 to bar 17. So I'm just going to go into the upper right-hand corner, click and drag over like this. If you hold down Command, remember it's temporary slip mode, so you can click and drag it without the grid mode. And if we go listen to this here at the end. See how the drums kind of fade out there, which is nice. Okay. And number 17, let's select from bars 9 and 10 on the piano clip. Where's the piano clip? Where are we? Piano. Oh, the electric piano, right? So bars 9 and 10, and let's see here. Command C to copy that. Command C. Place your cursor at bar 10, like right here, and hit paste. Boop. And let's do. Yeah, that's fine. Paste that in and hit paste here. Actually, it's a little bit misleading. Select from bars 9 to 10. So it's not misleading, it's just the way I read it is a little bit weird because I'm so used to how many bars. But basically just want you to copy 1 bar. So we're just going to copy 1 bar here and then boom, do that. So we've got 1 bar there, just kind of copied. Let's just listen to that real quick. Cool. So that's what that sounds like. And as you can see, I'm kind of mixing a little bit as we go just to make it so it sounds a little bit better to my ears. Up here, it wants you to change the playback mode to loop playback, which is right click and select loop. Or if you read the instructions here, it says Command Shift L. Command Shift L, which is, oh, I'm not in the right. Hold on, there we go. Command Shift L, boom. And then, yeah, we can look at the edit window. You can see my loop, my mix that I've got going on here, and it talks about just making sure that it doesn't clip. We can see it's clipping, so I want to just turn everything down a little bit just to make sure it's not clipping. And if you want to, you can highlight a section of it, like let's highlight this middle section here. And if you hit play on it, it should loop playback, and you can mess around with your mix while it's doing that. Cool. All right. Now, what you're going to notice is we did not use these aux channels at all today. That's fine. We don't need to use them. If you want to delete them out, you highlight them and hold and right click and hit delete. There you go. Boom. We just deleted that. Okay. Awesome. Now, what I want you to submit is, let's just make sure I didn't miss anything. I feel like is everything good? Yep. Yep. Cool. Okay, so what I would like for you to submit is a screenshot of this one right here. It should look basically like this. This is what I'm going to be looking for it to look like. I can hold down Command Shift and 4, and I can click and drag across my screen. I want the whole Pro Tools screen here like this. Boom. And then also your mix window as well. Command Shift 4, click and drag across. If you just want to take a screenshot of your whole entire screen, it's Command Shift 3. That's just the whole entire screen, which is also fine. I don't really care. Command Shift 3. But if you just want to screenshot just one portion of your screen, Command Shift 4, and then click and drag. And then you submit those. You submit those 2 screenshots, and we are good to go. Sweet. All right, let me go ahead and open up OBS here and stop the recording.